Hi. We're just getting there.
All right.
Hello. Good morning, good morning. Welcome to Open Table Friends Church today, Sunday, November 2nd, 2025. We're glad that you've chosen to join us, whether you're here in person with us, quite a few people today, as well as online. We're just glad that you're with us today for our meeting for worship.
All right, if you haven't had a chance to do so, you can go to our website, opentablefriends.org. On the front page, you'll see the connection card for today's meeting for worship. We would love for you to fill that out if you're here watching live, and if you're here in person, a reminder, you can connect to the Wi-Fi. It's OTFC Open, and you can use your device to do that, or we've got in-person little connection cards on the welcome table as well.
Wanted to say thank you for your continued giving to support Open Table Friends Church. There are 4 ways to give. If you'd like to do so, you can give in person on our hybrid meetings for worship. If you happen to be local to Northeast Ohio, we have a box over there on the welcome table. You could also give at our website, opentablefriends.org/give, or from anywhere on opentablefriends.org, you could hit the menu button and then tap the give button. You could give in the mail if you'd like to mail a check to OTFC P.O. Box 161, Madison, Ohio, 44057, or you can use your bank's online bill pay. That's one of the ways you could do it without any fees. Giving you all of those options. Last week's giving was $1,158, so thank you so much for your continued giving. And since we're talking about giving, November is a 5-Sunday month, and whenever that happens, our Justice Initiatives team selects an organization that's doing the work of justice somewhere in the world, and we donate 25% of that month's total giving to that organization. This month, the Justice Initiatives team was voluntold who they're going to give it to. I pushed it with our executive team, and it really makes sense for us. We're going to be supporting the New Association of Friends, which is a voluntary association of monthly meetings, churches, and individuals that support worship, ministry, and service through the cultivation of Christian faith in the Quaker tradition. This is also an organization that we're a part of, kind of like a yearly meeting if you're in Quaker terms, or a denomination in other Christian circles. It's kind of our larger group of churches that we're with. Unlike other yearly meetings and denominations, though, the New Association of Friends does not require apportionments or financial contribution of any sort to belong, which is super nice and I find very kind, because we've been a part of the New Association now officially for 3.5 years, but probably closer to 5, at least in spirit. But the ministry as a whole does so much in the world and in the communities that we get to serve that we really want to be a part of it. And so for this November's Justice Initiatives giving, we're going to give 25% of November's giving to the New Association of Friends.
All right, so our calendar things coming up, our next hybrid meeting for worship, because we love that we get to meet both in person and online once a month like we're doing today. And our next hybrid meeting for worship will be on Sunday, December 7th. And my husband mentioned when we get back together, it's going to be Advent time. Isn't that crazy to think about? And then we had a conversation at our table about if we're going to take our Christmas decorations down today, because we're those kind of people. So, but you can take a look at the end of your weekly email newsletter, as well as the homepage of opentablefriends.org for a list of those Sundays that will be hybrid. And we actually just picked our dates for 2026. We have to get them approved by the school, but it looks like we have our calendar dates for next year already. The only other thing we want to say is that if you have not seen online, I know Mark kind of spearheaded an effort from Open Table Friends to donate to our local food center here in Madison for those of us who are local. I know not everybody who tunes in is in Northeast Ohio, so we hope that you're able to support whatever food centers or food banks happen to be in your community, but here we wanted to support the Madison Food Center. So thank you to everybody who brought in donations. I'm pointing down here. You probably can't see if you're watching online. We have the food set up here. We want to let you know that we are just doing it this week, so don't worry if you're thinking, oh, I would have loved to donate. There are still ways that you can. One of the things that you can do is, if you did not know, one of the best ways to give to food centers or food banks is to give money. Obviously, food is always helpful, and I believe they gave us a list of what they could use, but money is a great way because money goes a lot further, and they can buy specifically what they need and have relationships with places to buy food at a much cheaper cost than what we buy them. So I know some people have left some money. There's envelopes up here if you want to leave money. We ask that if you are going to leave money today and you write a check to the Madison Food Center, do not make it out to Open Table Friends. We just want to cut out the middleman and get that money right to them. Or you can connect with the Vanison Food Center to see when you can donate food. If you do want to actually donate food and supplies, we can connect you with them. The last thing I'll say is that you can donate to the Madison Food Center online. We just ask that you put a quick note that you were part of the Open Table Friends, because you can put a note in the PayPal memo to say it was part of an Open Table Friends collection on behalf for Madison Food Center. But thank you to so many people who have already donated. I think, Mark, are you carrying this all out today and taking it over?
Well, I'm going to ask for help to carry it to my car, but yes, I'll be dropping it off.
I don't know, we should all
on
just sit
Tuesday.
here and watch Mark do it by himself, right? That would be amazing.
There is one other thing, Liz, that I can't believe I just now thought of. The Madison Food Center can also use volunteers. And one of the ways they do that is they have different churches that commit to a once a month time of, loading, people up in their cars and whatever when they're open. I don't know that we're in a position with as few as we have locally that could commit to doing a once a month commitment for a year. But they always do need help on the days they're open. I believe they are open on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but you could check their website and offer to volunteer there as well. Just wanted to make sure you knew that option was available as well. I know not everybody has financial resources to share, but sometimes your time can go really, really far. So.
Awesome. All right. Thank you again, everybody. So now it's time for our Kids Table segment, so take it away, Mr. Steven.
Hi, kids. It's Mr. Steven again. Welcome back to the Kids Table. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about prayer, as prayer is important and good. And there are a couple methods of prayer that I very much appreciate, and one of them is gratitude, which kind of ties into today, this weekend, as well as this month, which is, for me, a month of gratitude. It's a month where I try to be mindful of the things that I'm thankful for. And so, I want you to write down 10 things that you are most grateful for. And to review them each day this week so that you can be mindful of the things that we're grateful for. Let's see if I can list off 10. I am grateful for my loving wife. I am grateful for my children. And if I named each one, that would be Clara McKelvey, Gregory, and Nathan. So that would be 5 right there, right? That I'm thankful for? Uh-huh. And I'm thankful for celebrations.
No, that would be 4, not 5.
4 kids and then my wife.
Wow.
Celebrations is 6. I'm thankful for the fall. I've seen a quote recently, I think it's from Anne of Green Gables, that says, I'm so grateful to be alive in a place where there's fall or something like that. Autumn? Oh, I love the word autumn. I am grateful for good food. This season brings out all the pumpkin flavors, the pumpkin coffee, the pumpkin pie, the pumpkin roll. I like to make a pumpkin roll wrapped around cream cheese spread. Let's see, how many did I come to?
What?
My 5 family members, fall, food, fun.
Right?
I need 2 more F's for alliteration. That's the family members. I got 5 family members. A fan that cools me off when I'm hot. What else?
Fights?
Fruit?
Say food.
No, seriously. Let's name 10 things. I am grateful for seasons. I am grateful for food. I am grateful for God. I am grateful for faith and the ability to believe in the darkest of times. I am grateful for stories that grip me and help me to to enjoy all the feelings that I can have. I am grateful for the delight of my children and the challenges of raising children. I am grateful for the opportunity to take a deep breath and feel the stillness in the world. I am grateful for a faith and a spirit that flows through this whole world and connects all of us. I am grateful for community, and I am grateful for quiet, and I am grateful for love. I look forward to hearing what you all are grateful for if you're willing to share. And I wish you all a beautiful week ahead and happy Dia de los Muertos. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Mr. Stephen. Jennifer got you your Anne of Green Gables quote in the chat here. It's, I'm so glad to live in a world where there are Octobers. So that's a good quote. Love it, love it, love it. Before we continue with our time for worship and song, I wanted to go over the answers to our question of the week this week, which is what's your favorite part about autumn, or favorite thing about autumn? A number of answers in the chat here. Let's see here. Chelsea says, pumpkin, everything for me. Diana says, Thanksgiving is their favorite thing. Chibuzo says, it's nature's Lent, and also it's a great pumpkin, Charlie Brown. Izzy says, go to the farm, E-I-E-I-O. Alicia says, cool weather for me and football for the hubby. Marge says, the colors, my birthday, and cooler weather. Jennifer said, I love Halloween and all the fun trick-or-treaters. So thank you for those who shared your answer to your favorite autumnal things. For me, it's just, I don't know, hoodies and sweaters and outside and leaves and all that. So in a moment, we're going to spend some time together in worship and song, either here in person or from your own homes. So get comfortable wherever you're at and experience this time in whatever way makes sense to you. You can sing out loud. You could listen to the words and melodies and not sing at all if you want to. You could close your eyes or keep them open, but whatever helps you to connect with the divine spirit inside of you is what we're aiming for today. Now, during these songs, we do encourage you also to please write your prayer requests and praises in the comments of either our Facebook or YouTube live streams. And we'll read through them when we're done experiencing some music together. And then we'll pray together as a community. But for now, let's worship in song together.
It's quiet in this house upon a hill. You won't mind it. Some things you can't know till you're still in the silence. Let your spinning thoughts slow down in the stillness. Things have a way of working out. Allow me to introduce myself again. I'm the one that knew you before time began. I've been waiting for you to let me be your friend. Everything you ever need is everything I am. I am. Take your chances. There's nothing here to lose. Ask your questions. I promise you the truth as you're ready. I Is it heavy? Where wounds have left a mark. Allow me to introduce myself again. I was with you every place you've ever been. I'm the one that held you when you couldn't stand. If you're wondering who can heal your brokenness, I can. I can. I can. I'll meet you in the house upon the hill. How I want to show you I'm real. Allow me to introduce myself again. I'm the love you used to think could not exist. I'm as sure as where you're standing and as free as the wind. But you don't have to reach for me, 'cause this is where I am. We are knit together, together as one. Where you're going, I will go. Underneath the shelter of this love, we will walk each other home. You'll be home to me, I will be home to you. No one is an island. You'll be home to me, I will be home to you. No one is an island. I will walk beside you here on the way. You will never be alone. Oh, I will be your shade in the heat of the day, your refuge in the bitter cold. You'll be home to me, I will be home to you. No one is an island. You'll be home to me, I will be home to you. No one is an island. Oh, you'll be home to me, I will be home to you. No one is an island. You'll be home to me, I will be home to you. No one is an island. How good it is to be known by you. Love is our shelter, we're better together. How good it is to be known by you. Love is our shelter, we're better together. How good it is to be known is an island. You'll be home to me, I will be home to you. No one is an island. You'll be home to me, I will be home to you. No one is an island. Oh, you'll be home to me, I will be home to you. No one is an island.
All right, I'll just read over our prayer requests. I did not see any over on YouTube, so I apologize if any have come in like the last 30 seconds that I have not seen, but over on Facebook, just a few. Jennifer asked us to please continue to pray for her mom as she recovers from her back surgery. And then Julie asked us to please pray for her friend Tina. Her son took his life a few weeks ago. Oh my word, Julie, I'm sorry to see that. And today's his birthday, so she's hurting. Michael asks us prayers for Sarah as she goes back to work this week. And Alicia, prayers for a friend who retired last year and has received a cancer diagnosis. And then Marge said prayers for a peaceful election day. And Alicia said one where lots of people come out. All right, so let's pray together. God, we want to lift up these prayer requests to you right now. Prayers over a peaceful and a fruitful election day coming up. But also we think about the people who are hurting. We think about Julie's friend Tina losing her son in such a tragic way, and these days that are especially painful. So we pray that Tina may have family or friends or just people around her to sit with her in what I'm sure is excruciating pain, and to just know that she's not alone. We think about others who are sick or who are recovering from surgery, and again, prayers that they're receiving the treatment and the healing that they need to be able to do all the things that they want to do, to live their lives the way that they'd like to live them. We think about all the prayers that are unspoken in this room or in our community right now, and we want to lift them up to you, all the things that are our hearts and our minds. We think about Sarah going back to work as well, that things would go well with her recovery and it'd be a nice, smooth transition back into work. We do thank you for the chance to get together both here in person and with our online community. And as we talk about the things that help us cope through difficult circumstances, I pray that Open Table is one of the resources that people have to feel a sense of community and belonging, or just to know that they're not alone. And that's one of the things that helps us endure hard times, whether it's personally or whether we see people around us struggling or even wonder how to make sense of things that are happening in the world. I pray that this community is always a place where people are felt welcomed and loved and sense God's presence among us. So God, it's in your name we pray all of these things. Amen. All right. In a minute, we are going to, I got to transition. Sorry, Mark. Oof. Just a lot on my mind reading your prayer requests. So as we prepare for today's teaching, please know here at the Open Table, we desire that you find faith among us regardless of where your faith has taken you. We desire that you find hope among us regardless of how much or how little you have right now. We desire that you find restoration among us no matter where you've experienced brokenness. And we desire that you find love among us, period. So we will now have a few minutes of silent worship, as is our Quaker tradition, and then we will begin our teaching. All right. Sorry, I have a teaching, but I'm sitting here staring at this food, and I think everyone here is on the same page. It is overwhelming to think about how many people, and I hope if you didn't see, there is a judge who put an injunction that these SNAP benefits are supposed to be paid out using emergency funds. Whether or not that happens, we hope it does. You know, for a lot of us, SNAP benefits may seem like something distant or far away because you've been fortunate enough to never have to have been on the receiving end of those, right, or needed those to survive. But we're talking millions of people. These are our friends, our neighbors, people we don't know. And there's so many perceptions of people who need food assistance out there. And there are lots of people who want to manipulate the way we think to think that those people are less than or other. And I just hope here at Open Table, we can all agree that all of that is untrue, right? That all of that is evil and wrong, and that nobody should have to be hungry. And so I don't know, I just felt like that was worth saying, because you see things in the news about the kinds of people who use these benefits, and you don't know who it is. It could be the person you live next door to or you share an office with. It could be your family member who's never told you. It could be the students in your class who you think they're doing fine, but you have no idea. And a vast majority of people who are on SNAP benefits are white people. That's the other thing I don't think we realize. Because again, there are politicians or organizations or people who want you to think it's somebody less than or other who doesn't look like you. And so I just hope, I don't know if it's a matter of us continuing to call our representatives. Obviously, our food banks are doing what they can, but I read something today that said 1 meal at a food bank is 9 SNAP benefit meals. So this is something, and we need to do what we can do, but our food banks can't make up the difference, right? So I don't know how you feel called to act. Again, I'm so grateful for Mark thinking about this, because this is something, and I feel like we got to do something, right? And maybe that something is changing your perception of what you thought SNAP benefits were, or maybe it's calling your politicians, or I don't know. I don't know what that answer is. But I just felt like I was staring at this food, getting emotional, thinking, I've been so fortunate in my life to never have been on the receiving end, right? And you take that for granted when you don't know what it's like to not have enough. So, sorry, I didn't expect to get emotional thinking about that. But I just pray for our country. It's heartbreaking to think anybody in this country with plenty goes without. Shame on our country and the way that we operate. And that we've been told that lazy people are the ones who can't take care of themselves. You know, my mom told a story to me years ago. Your mom, right? My grandmother, after my mom was grown, had been through a divorce, right, Mom? And had to get food assistance. And worked really hard to get off of it. But she survived on that. And I imagine my aunt and my uncle were children. My mom was much older. And so to think it doesn't impact, and maybe it does impact some of you in this room. And I hope that, it's so hard. We have this, the other thing I want to say is we have this fund at Open Table, but I know it's hard for people. This is kind of what we're going to talk about today, to say, I need help. But if you are somebody here who does need help, if you're part of our community, we have a fund at Open Table called our Care of Persons Fund. And there is no shame in saying, hey, I'm somebody who needs funds because I get those benefits and they're gone. Nobody at Open Table should be struggling financially. We will drain our bank accounts, right, Julie, to care for our people. And churches aren't always good about saying that. And even if you want to talk to somebody who's not Mark and me, Julie is on our executive team and is our treasurer, but nobody here at Open Table especially should be struggling. So please, 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 and it doesn't even have to be SNAP benefits. All right, so anyway, there's my mini sermon for today. We are talking about something different, well, similar but different. Our leadership team was meeting a few weeks ago to plan out the rest of this year's services. And we are all busy on that team. We get together virtually because people are all over. But it was a really joyous occasion because everybody was there, and we had not all been together like that in a really long time. And so we didn't start off by talking about anything church related, but we were just joking catching up and joking about how are we coping with the stress of work and life or raising children, or again, the stress of the things we see in the world. And we joked about some of the books that we read to cope or to escape, the shows we watch, or if you're Sarah Bratt, the cats you foster. And we had just the best time talking about this, and we decided, hey, why not talk about it here as a community? Not that we're going to ask you how many cats you're currently fostering, and that's your way of coping through the misery of the world. But the idea of how are we coping with all that may be happening in our personal lives and in the world around us, and what does the Bible say about that, and what part does our community, our spiritual community, play in helping us cope? So we're going to be talking about coping mechanisms. Isn't that fun? But I want to give 2 caveats. The first one, there are all kinds of coping mechanisms out there. We don't have all the weeks here at Open Table Friends or the attention span, if we're being truthful, for those of us who talk, to go through all of them. So it's not like we're doing an in-depth research project for you here at Open Table Friends. The second thing is that I think very few of us, if any of us, are mental health professionals. I think there's Christina, you are. Yes, Christina is. Mark and myself are not. So we're not going to be approaching this from like a psychologist or a therapeutic standpoint. Please know that. It's just the surface level and trying to have some fun and also help each other better understand ourselves and how we support ourselves or each other through difficult times. So the 2 coping mechanisms I get to talk about today are self-reliance and support seeking, and they kind of go hand in hand. So we'll talk about self-reliance first. So self-reliance is a coping mechanism that involves taking personal responsibility for your well-being through practices like maybe setting boundaries, prioritizing self-care, developing emotional intelligence. Basically, it's strategies that enable you to care for yourself during difficult or trying times. So examples of this, of self-reliance, can include setting aside your own time for maybe exercise or prayer or meditation, setting personal boundaries around, again, how much can you engage in, how much can't you engage in. Those may also be boundaries about a work-life balance or boundaries with people in your life that you need. It can also include learning to trust your own judgment and intuition, maybe even cultivating hobbies or interests that bring you joy or bring you rest or peace. It can be practicing self-compassion or seeking out challenges to build resilience. And I'm sure many of you might recognize or say, yeah, I would identify as some of those self-reliance coping strategies as things that I use, right? And being independent essentially is good. It can teach us resilience, it can teach us self-sufficiency, it can build confidence, it can help us to be more prepared to face adversity in the future. And I was thinking about how we see Jesus do this. And I know, I feel like I'm a broken record because I reference these things all the time. But I was thinking about the times when Jesus goes off by himself to pray. Now, if you had asked me a couple days ago how many examples of this are in the Bible, in the Gospels, I would have said I think I remember 3. There were actually 9 mentions in the Gospels of times in which Jesus chose to go off by himself and to pray and to meditate. And yes, I know Jesus was in that prayer and meditation with God, but it was Jesus kind of setting that boundary, or again, establishing a practice for himself to get away from the crowds and re-engage or maybe refresh in that way. And so out of those 9 times of what I would call a self-reliance practice, Jesus went alone to pray in times of preparation. So again, before a day of healing or even prior to his arrest in preparation. We see Jesus going alone to pray in times of exhaustion, whether it's after long days of healing or after the miracle of feeding the 5,000. And then we see Jesus going alone to pray in times of sorrow, so specifically after the death of John the Baptist. So these are all just the accounts that we have in the Gospels. I'm confident Jesus did this more often, but this is a practice of self-resiliency, right? A coping mechanism. And again, it appears to be in preparation of difficult times, in times of exhaustion, maybe to refresh and rest, and then in times of extreme emotion. So for you, what routines, and again, this is just something to think about, or if you have your phone out and you're on Facebook Live or YouTube Live and you want to throw it in there, go for it. But what routines of self-reliance do you use to cope? Now, I know for me, I was thinking about what do I use, I've always been really good about exercising, and for a long time it was for my physical health, which it still is. But I've realized as I got older, it's a lot more for my mental health as well. So I have days where maybe I can't get to the gym, and I think like I know after a couple days my anxiety, I just don't feel good mentally and I don't feel good physically. And so I've always tried to make it a priority because that's a way that I care for myself, right? Especially when my stress is really high. Sometimes just getting it all out of my system and you get so exhausted you can't even feel that anxious anymore has really helped. I've tried to have some boundaries at work, and I'll tell you this story in the way that I'm failing at this, is I've been really fortunate that Fridays I get to work from home. And I've always loved, even when I worked at the church, I had Fridays off. And so I've always liked having that Friday to kind of be at home. And with the nature of my job, I generally only work about a half day on a Friday because I've worked a lot of hours prior to that. And I've always loved that because there's no pressure to get up, to be anywhere. I can take my time, get my work done. And then I have the other half of the day to go grocery shopping or to get stuff done around the house. Well, I was really poor with my planning for this fall, which is my busy season at work, because I had taken on some additional responsibilities which required me to be places on Fridays. I had scheduled some things for our advisors which required me to be at work on a Friday. And so I've gone like way too many weeks without having a Friday from home, and I'm exhausted. And I was like, oh, you have to pay better attention to your schedule, right? I have just scheduled myself to death this fall. Something else that really helps me, I am a people person for sure. I am an extrovert. I love to be with people, but I've valued those Fridays are also my alone time. And I've realized as I've gotten older, I do need a little bit of alone time so that I still love my family when they come home. No. And so to not have that has been really exhausting. So that's just my routines of self-reliance as a coping strategy. I don't know about you. Maybe you put some in the chat. The only downside, and I don't want to say downside, as we talk about these coping strategies, they're probably on a spectrum of things that are really healthy to things that become unhealthy, right? And so trying to find that balance as we're using these strategies to cope. And I think the extreme on the other end is the reality is we can skew too far into self-reliance as a form of hyper-independence, right? And I read this quote, Dr. Amber Wardell says, hyper-independence is born from the realization that at times relying on others for emotional or practical support may result in disappointment. It often stems from experiences that have taught us the most dependable person in our lives is ourselves. This coping mechanism takes root when we recognize that our needs and well-being are ultimately our own responsibility. It's a response to the unpredictability of human relationships and a desire to protect ourselves from the possibility of being let down or hurt. And I do want to acknowledge there are some of you here or who are watching who, whether it was growing up or whether it's things you've experienced as an adult, have been real and have forced you to maybe err into hyper-independence because you were the only one that you could trust. You were the only predictable, dependable person in your life. But one of the things that I was reading about, that hyper-independence, right, skewing too far into this coping strategy comes at a price. You isolate yourself, you can become exhausted, you become disconnected from others. You may even end up inadvertently hurting the people around you who genuinely love to care for you, and it brings them joy to care for you. And so our other coping mechanism we're going to talk about today, which kind of goes to that extreme right on that one end, is support seeking. So basically finding community. Support seeking is an adaptive coping mechanism that involves looking to friends or families or communities, professionals for emotional or practical help during stressful times. This can include talking about problems, joining a support or an affinity group, seeking professional guidance to gain perspective, reduce isolation, and find solutions, which I would argue is one of the main reasons church should even exist, right? Why are we here if we can't support each other, especially through hard times? But as I was reading through scripture, one of Jesus's first acts was to find disciples, was to create community and a team that could help him carry on the work and the message and the burden. So if you've ever read through the start of the Gospels, I'm just going to go through Matthew, Luke, and John. Matthew, the very start, we see beyond, the birth of Jesus, so we're going to skip those parts. But when Jesus' ministry, begins, we see that Jesus is baptized in Matthew. He's tested in the wilderness, and the very next thing is to call his disciples. Similarly, in Luke, we see Jesus is baptized. He does a little bit of healing and preaching in the narrative, but then immediately calls his first disciples. And then in the Gospel of John, we have John testifying about Jesus, then John's disciples begin to follow Jesus, and then Jesus immediately begins to call his first disciples. So God incarnate realizes there is a need for support and community. Then we read at the beginning of Acts, and I know I've read these verses a million times, the start of the early church in Acts 2, where it says, all believers were together and had everything in common. They sold property and possessions and gave to anyone who had need. Every day they continued to meet in the temple courts. They broke bread in their homes and ate together with glad and sincere hearts, praising God and enjoying the favor of all the people. And then later on in Acts 4, it said all the believers were one in heart and mind. No one claimed that any of their possessions were their own, but they shared everything that they had. It said there was no needy persons among them. From time to time, those who owned land or houses sold them, brought the money from the sales, and put it at the apostles' feet, and it was distributed to anybody who had need. So they were worshiping, they were learning, they were preaching, and they were caring for each other in their times of need and that early church community. Even Paul in his missionary journeys, not only through the book of Acts, but through Paul's letters. If you've never realized this, but Paul and the missionaries never traveled alone. They always went in pairs, or they always went in groups, again, to do the work together and to carry the burden so they weren't alone. Even God, if we believe in God in the traditional sense of the Trinity, God exists in a relationship, right? God does not exist as a singular being. I've long argued that God never meant for us to be alone, but our very nature, we were created to be in relationship not only with God, but with each other, because our connection is how we cope and survive. I've long preached the message that specifically our American culture of hyper-independence and individualism does not align with what we are shown in the Bible at all, or how we were created to live. And so for you, as we think about support seeking, what coping mechanisms do you use when it comes to that community? Is it time with friends? Is it therapy? Is it, again, being a part of a support group or even a group like church? I know for me, my friends and my connections, whether it's here at Open Table or my friends that I have outside of church, are a lifeline for me. I actually texted two of my friends the other day, and I don't do this a lot, because again, those of us who tend to be hyper-independent feel like we're burdening people, right? Enneagram 1s? I'm looking at Jennifer and Julie. But I said, here's my TED Talk is what I gave, and I just needed to get it off my chest. And my one friend said, I approve this TED Talk. And the other one said, oh, I'm going to try not to cry, sorry. She said, I know exactly how you feel. Oh my gosh. I feel like there is nothing more healing for your soul than when somebody says, I know exactly how you feel. That sense of not being alone can get you through what feels like an exceptionally difficult time, right? To not be alone. Oh, geez, sorry guys, I'm really losing it today. Now, the extreme version of this, we know, is where you become too reliant on other people. And I know that this is scary for those of us who are probably too hyper-independent, because we're already too worried about being too dependent on other people. We don't want to bother people. We don't want to burden people. We don't want to be too dependent. And I can't offer you any professional advice on being too dependent. I know that I loathe asking for help, and I'm working on that, especially at my workplace, because I feel like it's my responsibility to do all the things. And it seems really foolish, but I asked my coworkers the other day if somebody could just fill in for me. And of course they could, because I filled in for them. And all it took was me asking, which seems so dumb, and they don't think a second of it, because they all have this attitude of we're here to help each other, right? And all it took was me asking. So I'm not great at it, but I'm trying to work. But anyway, but being too support-seeking is a thing. The extreme version of those who lean too far into support-seeking, we know, can strain their relationships with those around them. It can hinder their independence and their resiliency, and it can make them codependent. So we know that there is an extreme version of being support-seeking. So it's about trying to find this balance of where is it in the middle of knowing it. You'll probably hear this about all these strategies. I hope you'll relate to all of them, because it's not just one thing that's going to get you through hard times, right? It's all of these things. God didn't make us robots that all operate in the exact same way, right? But these are all things that I do believe not only are we modeled in Scripture, but God created us with each other to use these things to be able to endure what feels like exceptionally difficult times. And I think about not only in our relationships with each other, but our relationships with God as well. God doesn't expect to do things on our own and solely rely on ourselves. Otherwise, what's the point of faith at all? Why would we be here? But at the same time, I don't think God expects us to just sit around staring at the sky waiting for God to return, right? No, there's things that we can do that God expects us to do. Jesus is our blueprint, I think, for a healthy balance of both the coping mechanisms that we've talked about, right? Some examples we've talked about in scriptures. And I'm excited to talk. It's so funny because sometimes I sit down to write and I think, what am I going to talk about? And this is one of the things I was excited to really talk about, right? So I'm excited as we talk about more into the future, as we learn about more about ourselves, more about, again, where are we on the spectrum of these coping strategies, and maybe you learn something in the next few weeks that help you be able to endure, whether it's something in your own life, something in the lives of the people around you that's becoming draining, or maybe even, again, just, I see this quote, like being a thinking person in the world today is really exhausting sometimes, a thinking, caring person. All right, so that's it for me. Now it's time for our spiritual practice, and Mark and I are going to trade seats.
Thank you, Liz. I planned a spiritual practice where everyone was going to be crying, but Liz has that covered, so I'm just kidding. As Mr. Stephen mentioned earlier, Dia de los Muertos is a Mexican holiday that celebrates and honors deceased loved ones from October 31st through November 2nd. So for today's spiritual practice, we're going to consider some of the traditions and rituals practiced by those who celebrate this holiday. Dia de los Muertos, or Day of the Dead in English, is a 2-day holiday that reunites the living and the dead. The families create something called ofrendas, or offerings, to honor their departed family members that have passed. These are sort of altars that are decorated with bright yellow marigold flowers, photos of the departed, and the favorite foods and drinks of the one being honored. The offerings are believed to encourage visits from the land of the dead as the departed souls hear their prayers, smell their foods, and join in the celebrations. I am not in any way Mexican, but I am Italian, and if I'm dead and you cook my favorite foods, I might be tempted to come back. Day of the Dead is a rare holiday for celebrating death and life. It's unlike any holiday where mourning is exchanged for celebration. If you'd like to see a representation of this celebration, the Disney Pixar movie Coco is a wonderful animated film that I'm certain you would enjoy. Now, much of the American church would tell you that you should never celebrate this holiday because you should never summon spirits of any kind. But I think that perspective greatly diminishes what the Mexican people are actually doing. I grew up Roman Catholic, and I went to Catholic school from kindergarten through 5th grade. Now, we never celebrated Halloween at school. We didn't dress up for Halloween, period. But what we did do was every November 1st, we dressed up as our favorite saint and walked across the street to the nursing home to visit folks who gave us candy. And our school happened to be located on a facility that's also a seminary, so we walked around the buildings receiving candy from young men studying to become priests someday. The reason we did this was to celebrate All Saints' Day on November 1st. In case you couldn't guess, your boy dressed up as St. Mark every single year, and my costume was amazing. It was a brown piece of fabric folded in half with a hole cut out for the head and a rope tied around my waist for the belt. This is pretty much like every other boy's costume, except some use tan or blue or even orange fabric. So it was pretty cool, right? Here's the interesting thing. All Saints' Day, which celebrates those who have been canonized as saints and who are long departed, is on November 1st, but then on November 2nd is the celebration of All Souls' Day, which is focused upon our loved ones who have passed. During the celebrations of All Saints and All Souls Days, families often visit the graves of loved ones to clean them, to offer prayers, to light candles, and leave flowers or other mementos. And guess what? During Dia de los Muertos, people will often visit cemeteries and clean gravestones and decorate the grave markers. Similarly, All Saints' Day prayers are offered to the saints, that is, to the people of faith who have passed from this life and who are believed to be with God. And while those who celebrate Dia de los Muertos believe they can commune with their loved ones who are no longer with them, I honestly believe at the end of the day, and I mean every single person, just wants to feel close to the people who have died because they miss them so much, right? I know I do. I get to be a part of a celebration of life on Tuesday for Ashley, who attends here as grandmother. I don't know if I've ever met her, but the way Ashley talks about her, I love this woman, and I cannot wait to celebrate her life. I can't wait to hear the stories about her. I've heard plenty, but I can't wait to hear more. I know, Roger and Kathy, you shared something kind of intimate with me this morning, that you lost a friend who you've loved for years and years. And being close to them, even after they're gone, is something that we want, isn't it? We want to remember, but more than remember, we want to feel close to them. All of our rituals, all of our traditions from around the world and across the spiritual and cultural landscape lead us toward comfort, joy, memories, faith, and even hope. And I'll be honest with you, that's super duper important. Because sometimes we sense the presence of our loved one who's gone, right? We see them in nature, or we imagine that they arrange circumstances for us. I'm here to tell you that most of the modern Christian church would tell you that that's antithetical to the scriptures. I don't know that I care. Because if I feel something, that's real to me. Is it real? I don't know. I don't know. But I'm not going to impose something on the Bible or allow someone's interpretation of the Bible impose something on me. And I hope you don't allow that either. So today, let's just take a few moments to offer a prayer to help us connect somehow, some way to our loved ones who have passed. One of the ways that people celebrating Dia de los Muertos do this is by writing and reciting or even publishing something called Calaveritas Literarias. I'm sure that's pronounced better in Spanish. I don't roll my R's and I don't know how to speak the language, so I apologize, but anyway, these Calaveritas Literarias are short and often humorous rhyming poems that describe imaginary situations about a people encountering death. The subject could be a friend, a family member, or someone in politics, and they may be alive or even dead. If the character is a friend or a loved one, the poem is usually humorous and non-offensive, drawing from their personalities to create a lighthearted and amusing story of their passing. But if the character is a famous person or a politician, the poem is often used to criticize or satirize them through mockery or irony. So I don't know if you're a writer, but November 2nd isn't over yet, so you do with that what you choose to do. In my preparation for today's spiritual practice time, I came across a particular Calavera Literaria published on the PBS website back in 2018. But this one represents a more traditional poem written for Dia de los Muertos and describes the ceremony to honor the dead. And while I would have preferred a humorous one to read to you today, I thought this one spoke to the heart of all humankind when it comes to the longings of our hearts for those who have passed. I'm certain that the language is much more beautiful in Spanish, but here it is translated in English. It says this: "In this special month, in which everything is party and dance, we remember with love traditions and praises. It is necessary to remember that even with faith that we will meet again, we remember his adventures. For our loved ones, we build an altar. For their souls and heartbeats, we sense coming back. So we celebrate them with large pieces of bread placed on altars with flowers, candles, mezcal. These exquisite breads that are colorful, of horn and bone shapes, we will leave for them, to make them happy in their fleeting visit in this land of love, the memories that leave. For me, it is a great gift to be able to find them on such special days and be able to enjoy them. If my dead ones knew how much I missed them, they would come every day and would be very pleasant. I wait for them sitting down, for I know we'll converse, these 2 nights full with atolls and cookies. Dear happy souls, knowing that we love you, we remember your love and await your return." So friends, as All Saints' Day, All Souls' Day, and Dia de los Muertos comes to a close for this year, may we remember those who we have lost, and may we desire to bring them nearer to us in any way that God allows that to happen. Amen. Just a few reminders as we close our time together this morning. If you've not already done so, please fill out the connection card. We'd like everyone to do this each and every week, whether you're in person or online. You could do that at opentablefriends.org. Just scroll down halfway through the page and tap or click on that connection card, and you can fill that out right there. Or if you're here in person, we have them at the welcome table there. You could fill out in physical pen and paper. Also, just a reminder that our next meeting for worship that's hybrid is going to be on December 7th. We're excited for that so much. Thank you for being here, friends. Be blessed. We'll see you next Sunday, if not sooner. Bye.
You'll be home to me, I will be home to you. No one is an island. You'll be home to me.